Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist. Well, we have another example of some delusional theists murdering their child to prove their faith to their imaginary God. And we're going to talk about it right now. Stick around. Okay, before I get too far along, I have to say that if people killing their children to prove their faith in God pisses you off, then hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell. Show me some love and support for shining a light on these monsters of darkness. Thanks. Now on with the show. Unfortunately, things like this happen so often that I want to start a video series called Faith Kills. And every time I see a news article about some religious psycho killing his children to prove his faith or doing something stupid like jumping in a lion's cage thinking God will protect him, I'll make a video about it. Because faith really does kill. And whenever you hear someone say faith is harmless, you'll have video evidence to show them otherwise. A special thanks to Hemant Mehta, the Friendly Atheist, for his article over at Patheos about this incident, which I'll link below. Okay, this time it happened in Wales, June 8th of 2018. A woman named Carly Ann Harris, who described herself as a fallen angel who had to prove her strength to God, drowned her 4-year-old little girl in a bathtub, took the child's body, wrapped it in toilet paper and then a blanket, and then set it on fire on a coffee table out in the garden. And why did she do it? To prove her faith to her imaginary God. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, Abraham did it too, except the angel stopped him at the last moment. And what happens to the little girl's spirit afterwards seems to be little more than an afterthought to the mom. I need to get into heaven, so I did this thing. Oh, and my daughter will be with Jesus too. Totes. Her blind faith that Jesus would take care of her little girl in the afterlife or return her to a healthy state here on earth is what got this child killed. She even reportedly admitted telling her little girl, "You're going to see the angels and I'll see you in heaven," before she murdered her. Isn't that just twisted and vile? Vile and evil. Literally evil. Just what you would expect from a follower of the God of death, the evil God monster of Abraham. Afterwards, she was quoted as saying things like, "Amelia has gone to heaven. Jesus told me to do it, and I promise you I wouldn't do that to my only girl if she wasn't returning." How absolutely delusional and weak-minded. And yes, there are reports of her having mental health issues before the incident. If nothing else, it's situations like this which prove religion is dangerous and not something for the weak-minded or the young. Yet, that's who they target specifically. And just off the top of my head, I can think of a couple of instances where a parent in the Bible demonstrates their faith, either by killing their child or being willing to kill their child or by allowing their child to be killed. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice Isaac is obviously the biggie here. Jephthah sacrificed his daughter to God as a reward for winning a battle. Lot and his daughters. Don't even get me started on Lot and his daughters. Of course, God, who himself sacrificed his son for a long weekend. You know what I mean? It's like all about a blood cult and death and killing your own children. There's a lot of that goes on all the way from the top. And I'm curious about something. When one religious zealot out there hears about another religious zealot out there murdering their own children to prove their faith, I wonder what goes through their mind. Do they ever so ironically shake their heads and wonder how someone could do something like this, all the while they themselves are indeed more than capable of such things? Or do they nod in approval and cross themselves, feeling the power of Christ flow through them as they listen to the report and wait for their call to do the same? How does that work in their mind? And I think one of the saddest points to be made here is that none of this is really about the child. From her perspective, it's not about this world being a bad place and wanting to protect the child and ensure she got into heaven. No, it's about the mom. The mom is a fallen angel, and to prove her faith, to prove herself to God, to get her into heaven, she has to sacrifice her daughter. Ask a Christian, would you kill so-and-so if God came to you and told you to do it? And It really doesn't matter who that person is, mother, brother, daughter, sister, it doesn't matter. If the Christian says, yes, you really have something to be genuinely concerned about, any type of delusion or hallucination could turn this person into a homicidal killer. And here's a tough question. Are we not infringing on the rights of believers when we tell them they can't sacrifice their children to God? I mean, come on. We allow them to not put their kids in proper schools and teach them all manner of nonsense because of their faith. We allow them to refuse medical care based on their faith. How is it not monstrous? Literally letting their children suffer through excruciating illnesses as a way to prove their faith. I mean, where does it end? Where does it stop? We literally, and I'm being extremely literal here, we literally allow them to mentally torment and torture their children with visions of Satan coming to get them and drag them down to hell, as well as torment them with illness and not letting them have medicines when they need it. Literally, we allow people to torture their children for their faith. Personally, the one about Satan coming to get you and dragging you down to hell, that one really bothered me when I was a little kid. I even remember hoping that I would die before I turned 12 because I had heard that children under 12 were too young to understand and would automatically go to heaven. I thought it was an easy ticket into heaven. After you turned 12, you had to walk the line or face burning in hell. These are the kind of things that, that they teach children. That's just random. That's just what I learned. Just it's separate. Everybody's got different horror stories about what they're taught as children about Satan and what's going to happen to them in the afterlife. And it's just a nightmare. And why are those people who do these things to children not deemed mentally insane and dumped in a hospital? From my perspective, right? From your perspective, from my perspective, there's not a lot of gap between the good Christian mother who wants to protect her children from the evils of the world and the psychopathic Christian mother who murders her children for the same reason. You think it doesn't happen? It happens. Here's a news article about a woman named Claudina Marie Helton from Dayton, Ohio, who shot her 2 children in the head in order to save them from the evils of the world. Don't say it doesn't happen, because it does. I'll put a link to a news article on her in the description below. I'll probably do a Faith Kills Kids episode about her before long. In case you're curious how it all turned out for Mrs. Harris, she was found innocent by reason of insanity and remanded to a mental hospital. Apparently, absolute faith, true, pure, honest belief in God and obeying his will, just like the Bible and your preacher wants you to have and do, is clearly a sign of mental issues. Who'd have thought? What are your thoughts on the subject? Do you know of an example of where someone killed their child or allowed them to die because of faith? Let me know in the comments below and I may do a show on it. Remember to click subscribe and hit that little notification bell, like, share, help me spread my nutbaggery, do the thing at the place for the guy. I'm the guy. Show my Patreon some love. Oh, and pick yourself up some Daily Atheist merch. It's wonderful. Here, check out the merch. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all you do, all your clicks and likes and subscribes. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.